Hey, what's up, everybody? I had to stay home today, waiting on a test to come through. We were a close contact, so here I am from my little studio here at home. It's kind of nice. I like my little setup here, but that doesn't mean we shun our responsibilities. You guys know how we like to get our work done. Responsible young adults you are. I know that all too well. Today, we're moving on with our lesson. So yesterday we practiced fractions and decimals and converting between the two, but today we're jumping right into percents, and I really like percents because with percents, usually with numbers, we're usually dealing with an infinite amount of them, right? Well, percents, we get to narrow that down to 0 to 100. So that's kind of nice. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is that a percent is just a ratio that compares a number to 100. It's just any number out of 100, right? And you guys probably know them best as like progress bars or something, right? Say you're downloading something, and it'll usually tell you like a percent of something that's being downloaded. What that might look like is you're sitting there and you've got a little progress bar like this, and down here is 0%, and at the top is 100%, right? So, and if you start to download something, then this starts to fill up, right? It goes so far, where we get to like this point here, right? And if you could imagine this was a number line from 0 to 100, you might be able to guess that this is somewhere, say if this was halfway right here, this was 50%, right, that'd be halfway, then this could be somewhere around 20% maybe. So that's what percentages are. It's out of one whole thing, right? For example, you could have even this represented as like a circle, right? And part of the circle could be filled up, right? This little bit right here would be, I don't know, maybe 5 out of 100, right? If this was a percentage of the circle. So the point here is that percentages are out of 100. 0 to 100. Those are your only options right now. Now, percentages can go above 100%, and they can go less than 1%. But we're going to focus on just basic 0 to 100% today, and how to write those as fractions. So, the first type of problem we're going to look at looks like this: to write a percent as a fraction. So if I tell you 50%, any percentage I give you, all you have to do is take that number and put it over 100. Now that could then be simplified, obviously, because all fractions can be simplified. But the first thing we're going to do is take that number, in this case 50%, right? So the number is 50, and we're going to write that over 100. It's 50 out of 100. That is exactly how you take a percentage and write it as a fraction. Now, obviously, any fraction that you get for an answer can be, if it can be simplified, do it. And in this case, it can. 50 out of 100. Some of you might already know this, but if you start dividing this down, 50 is actually the greatest common factor. You get 1 over 2. You get 1/2, which 50% is half of something. It's a pretty common one. The next, let's do another example here. The next type of problem that I might give you is I might just give you in word form, say in this particular problem right here. In a recent survey, 55% of cell phone owners said they text message. What fraction of cell phone owners? So all that's asking you to do is take that percentage and turn it into a fraction. And in this case, 55% is, again, just writing that number over 100. 55% as a fraction is 55 over 100. 55 out of 100. Right? And then this can be simplified, right? So you can start dividing this down. Maybe you divide this by 5, because I know that any number that ends in a 5 or a 0 can be divided by 5. So if I divide 55 by 5, I get 11. And then 100 divided by 5 is 20. You might end up with a fraction 11 over 20, which this right here is 55%. Okay? Just like 50 over 100 was a half. 11/20 is 55%. Okay? Let's try another one. Now, I'm going to give you some fractions and have you write them as percentages. Now this one, the other way around, not as cut and dry, right? The other one is easy. Just you get the number, put it over 100, simplify, and you're done. right? This one, you actually have to look at it as, yep, I'm muddying up my own house. What's up, Rue? Come here. Come here. Come say, oh, there he is. I think he's going to eat the paper. I don't know. Anyway, that's Ruger. Eat it, bud. Okay, don't eat it. Anyway, we're going to turn this fraction into a percent. And as you can see, the way they show it on the screen right here is that they filled 6 out of 8 of these boxes. And if you always think of, like I said earlier, this stuff as like a progress bar, then you can even write it out yourself and say, oh, well, 6 out of 8. Well, if I cut this into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 pieces across here, then that would mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 8 of those boxes are filled in. And remember, all of these percentages are out of 100. So remember, this is 0% to 100%. Then our job would be to say, well, what is the percentage here? What percentage of this bar is filled in? Now we can make a quick and easy estimate here, right? So about right here is like halfway. So then we're a little bit past halfway. So we're probably in the neighborhood of like 60, 70% or something, I'm guessing in here. If halfway is 50%, then we're probably in the neighborhood of like 70%. But here's how you make sure. The problem said 6 out of 8, okay? So what we would actually do is we would take 6/8 and we would find a way to get that denominator to 100. And if you can get that denominator to 100, then you're going to get your answer. Now, we worked a lot on this when we were finding equivalent ratios. So we can take 6/8, and 8 won't multiply up to 100, but if we divide it by 2, we get 3/4. Now 3/4 is equivalent to that, but 3/4 will now go up to 100. Much like we practiced with our ratios, we did this a lot. And we get a number like 75 out of 100. Now, my estimate was about 70, remember. That looks like 70 out of 100 is filled up out of this bar. So I was pretty close with my estimate. So when I get my answer of 75, that makes sense to me. So I'm going to go ahead and say, that's a good answer. I'm going to go with my fraction 75 out of 100 there, which is 75%. And what we found out was that 6/8 was equal to that, right? 6 out of 8 would be equal to 75%. Let's try another one here. This next one, no, let's go down here. Let's try a couple of these, right? Let's do 1, 2, 4, and 5. Pause the video really quick, guys, and solve these up. These problems are not exhaustive. They really don't take long to solve some of these problems. So go ahead and pause the video here. Try numbers 1, 2, 4, and 5 on the screen right now. These ones right here, 1, 2, 4, and 5. Try those really quick. Unpause it, and then we'll see how you did. All right, guys, hopefully you're coming back. And now we're going to go through, number 1 was 15% to a fraction. Number 2 was 80% to a fraction. And then we have some fractions that we had to turn to percentages. So I just wrote those down really quick, and then let's see what we got here. Okay, so the first one there, 15% to a fraction. Easy, done, right? Just put it over 100. Same with the second one, 80 over 100, done, right? Now, those are good answers. They're not great because they can be simplified. I know that 15 and 100 can both be divided by 5. I'm going to whittle this down a little bit, and that's going to equal 3 out of 20. So for the first one, 3/20 is the best answer there. If you got 15 over 100, good job turning it into a fraction, but we need it simplified. The next one here, 80% was equal to 80 over 100. I know that these can be divided by 20. Maybe you didn't divide them just like I did, but you should eventually get to the simplest form anyway. 80 divided by 20 is 4. 100 divided by 20 is 5. The fraction 4/5 is 80%. All right, so if you made 4 out of 5 shots when you were playing basketball, you shot 80%. Really good. Now let's turn these fractions into percentages, right? This first one here, we have out of 10, but we want to get it out of 100, right? Because if we can get that denominator to 100, we know the exact percentage. times 10 here will get us to 100. So we'll do the same thing to the top, create an equivalent fraction. So 3 out of 10 is equivalent to 30 out of 100. And we know that 30 out of 100 is 30%. Go over here, same thing on this one. Get that denominator to 100. This case is a little bit different, takes a little different path, multiplying by 5. And 3 times 5 is 15. That's funny because this was the same one as up here, so we know it's going to be 15%. Hopefully this was a good, quick little introduction to percents, guys, and turning them to fractions and back and forth. Good luck on your assignment, and I will see you guys soon.